Okay, we'd like to welcome you to Fabric Chicks Live at noon. Um, Sorry, we're still getting ready like usual. Um, okay, let me see. Uh, is there anybody on?
Not yet, no.
Okay, good. All right, let me catch up to you.
Two.
All right, who's there?
Christy Lee.
Hi, Christy.
Carolyn G.
Hi, Carolyn.
Lynn Bonner.
Hi, Lynn. Okay, girls. All right. So we'd like to welcome you to our Fabric Chicks Live at noon. Today, what I'm going to be showing you is how to do facing of a quilt instead of binding. So I'm going to show you several different options that you have to finish your quilt. For a lot of people, it seems kind of tricky because you just don't do it enough. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. So if you have any questions during this whole process, just holler. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, Diana. Hi, Eldred. Um, okay, so um, hopefully you guys all had a good weekend and things are going good where you are. I know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there. I just talked to Linda McGehee to kind of finalize what we need for supplies and things for our piping wizard class on Wednesday night. And she's been without water and all kinds of crazy things. So hopefully everybody's prepared and making the best of whatever the situation is that you're being faced with right now. Hi, Ann. Good to see you. Okay, so I'm going to show you today. The other day, I think we showed you how to do a regular binding, which would be like this. So you're going to cut your strips 2.5 inches, or I prefer mine to be 2.25. A lot of ladies that enter into shows, they cut their binding at 1 7/8. I think that's really pretty tricky because you've still got to get it over your stitching line here. So just practice and do what is comfortable for you. And there's so many YouTube tutorials and different. Everybody has a different way of doing binding, but this is the typical way to do binding right here, where you cut 2.5 inches, you sew it to the front side, flip it to the back, hand stitch it down, or machine stitch it. Um, Hi, Elizabeth. How are you? Hi, Beverly Ann. And Phyllis. Phyllis, Devin just got your order ready. It was the easiest order ever. He was so excited. Um, okay, so for a facing, this is what a facing looks like. It's where you actually stitch down your fabric. So I don't know if you can see it here. Um, I used a little bit of Steam-A-Seam, but this was my first attempt at using the Steam-A-Seam for my facing. So you stitch it around and you pull it to the back side. During the same steps, you sew on your sleeve. So that it gives it more of a finished look. It pulls it to the back. That way you don't here on my landscape, I was when I was working on my landscape, I didn't know what color binding to use because I had a sky at the top and then I had sand at the bottom. And so it would kind of look funny like this one here. I don't know if you can see the redwoods. See how I've got kind of a pink sky and I've got brown binding, which kind of frames it like a picture frame, but the brown binding is touching the pink sky and the brown dirt. So it just is kind of your preference of what you want. Oh, Kathleen says the weather in Southern California is beautiful. I know. It just kind of depends on where you're at. Here in Nevada, I hiked in snow on Saturday, and then it was beautiful for my hike on Sunday. So you just never know what the weather's gonna be here. Um, Thank you, Kathleen. The landscapes are always my favorite. Okay, so here's another one that I did the facing. So you can see how I just have pulled it to the back. So it's just a panel that I've quilted, super easy panel that I quilted, and then I just pulled it to the back with the facing. So I'm just going to show you real quick because you don't need like step-by-step directions, I don't think. So here it is. You're going to have to bring the camera over here because it's going to all fall apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to here is my sleeve. So I'm going to sew my sleeve on at the same time. So this is my sleeve. I cut it 10 inches and then I ironed it and I ironed the edges to create a hem, a finished hem, and I stitched it along here. And then I ironed it in half and I put Steam-A-Seam or whatever your favorite fusible is, put that on the back. You don't have to put it 1/4 of an inch to the top because that is going to go into your seam. But in the tutorials that I watched, they had it 1/4 inch from the bottom also. But I think that that's why it doesn't stick very good. So I'm going to put mine all the way to the bottom. And then you're going to sew it with your Steam-A-Seam facing up on the front of your quilt. Okay? Does that make sense? And then I'm going to take my sides. They're going to be the exact size of my sides. And I'm going to cut it 4 inches. And then I'm going to iron it in half. And then I'm going to iron my Steam-A-Seam onto here, but not 1/4 inch to the top. But I want it to come pretty close to my edge. And then I'm going to put that here, okay? And I'm not going to actually do it because I think you guys don't need that much of a lesson. But so I'll have Steam-A-Seam here and then the same here and here on all 4 edges. So that when I stitch 1/4 inch around my entire quilt, and you'll go around the entire quilt till you get right back to where you started. You're going to stitch 1/4 inch, and then you're going to flip it to the back side and iron. So everything just gets flipped to the back side, and you have a perfectly enclosed like this. All right. Is there any questions about that? Do you guys need me to show you more detail, or you think you got it? Hi, Anna. Okay. I think it's pretty simple. The facing seems like it's complicated, but if you just remember that you're just stitching in to close your edges, so you're just going to stitch, but the Steam-A-Seam makes it so that you don't have to hand stitch it to the back. So see how nice the edges look? See here? But I followed the directions and I only took the Steam-A-Seam to 1/4 of an inch to the edge, which I think is why it kind of, see how it kind of rolls over? So now I feel like I need to go hand sew this down. But if I'd taken the Steam-A-Seam all the way out to the outside edge, so on this one, I've taken the Steam-A-Seam all the way to the folded edge, but I've left 1/4 inch from the top because that's where my seam's going to be. All right. If you have questions, girls, type them in. The corners, Christy, I just went to all the way to the edge. I sewed all the way to the edge, and then I came back 1/4 inch and sewed all the way. And then I did clip my corners. So you can see, I mean, it's a lot of bulk. So I don't know how anybody could get a real crisp corner there because there is all the bulk when you turn it inside out. But for me, it's good enough. So I don't know how you could get a perfectly crisp corner. They're always going to be a little bit, see how this one's a tiny bit rounded? Just because when you turn something inside out like that, you're going to have the extra fabric. So clip it as close as you can without clipping your stitching. Okay, any questions? Anne, what did you do with Stitch Witchery? How did you turn it with the Stitch Witchery? Huh. Oh, Kathleen, I do not know. I would not do the facing and the Steam-A-Seam without stitching down the steam-a-seam if I was going to wash it. Usually people use the facing for art quilts. Typically, if you're going to have a quilt that you're going to wash all the time, you're just going to do regular binding. Carolyn, I love you. I love that you don't care that it's got rounded corners. It was intentional. Just tell them it was intentional. Yes. Phyllis, it would totally work for a placemat, but I don't know when you're washing it if the steam-a-seam will hold up. But you could just go like on this one where, and it could be that I used old steam-a-seam, but I think it's because I didn't do it all the way to the edge. But I think I'm going to go do a hand stitch to close it up. Even though there's steam-a-seam, I'm going to do just a quick running stitch. So not too close together because it's already pretty secure, but I'm going to go and just do just to catch it, just to make sure. So I think if you did it with the placemats or something you're going to wash, I would just add a little bit of hand stitching along there just to make sure you've got it caught really pretty well. And then just some other ideas of things that you can do for binding. This here was a rick rack, one of the jumbo rick racks, and I just placed it on either side of the project. So I've got half of the rick rack on the back side and then half of the rick rack on the front side. And I just closed it up. This is just kind of a little art piece that was on Heavyweight Temtex, the same stuff we do the flag banners out of. And then I just, I probably hand stitched it, but this is when the kids were real little. Today, I would probably just run a sewing machine stitch down it with invisible thread. And then here's another way to finish your bindings is you can just do a zigzag stitch, which is super quick and easy. So those are my tips on different binding choices that you have. Do you guys know of any other binding choices? Well, you could take the back of your quilt, you could leave extra of your backing and then roll that forward. That's how they used to do it in the olden days. Lynn, I don't think you necessarily, if you're going to hand stitch it, a lot of people hand stitch it without the steam-a-seam. I think the steam-a-seam was just somebody's solution at some point so that it was quick, easy binding. They could get it done super fast without any hand stitching. You just slap the steam-a-seam on, you stitch around it, you flip it over, you iron it, and you're good to go. You can enter it into a contest. Yes, a serger would work perfect, Carolyn, except for that you would have to know how to thread your serger, and I've had a serger for 13 years, and I've never figured out how to thread it, but I've never tried either. It just seems too overwhelming for me. And I don't know why you would have used the Stitch Witchery. Now I'm befuzzled. So if you figure out why you used the Stitch Witchery instead of the steam-a-seam, because that wouldn't have held it, that wouldn't have adhered it. So maybe it was maybe you had a different purpose you were using the Stitch Witchery for. Mary Beatty, I'm glad that you came on even if you're late, because I was worried about you. I waited here all day Saturday for you, but look at here, Roger, show him how far I got on my links. So Mary was supposed to come in so we could start our links together, but she didn't. So there was probably, about 12 of us that worked on our links on Saturday. So that's how far I've gotten. Hi, Joanne. How are you and Clark? Lynn, the top of it is so wide because it's actually the sleeve. So I cut a 10-inch piece and then I hemmed the outside edges so that you have a finished edge there, then iron it in half, and then that creates the sleeve. So it's kind of a one step. You're not having to add a sleeve on after the fact. Okay, let's see. It's hard to keep up with your girls' questions. It is, yep, Judith, it's the same fabric as the backing. You don't necessarily have to use the same fabric, but I always, if I have leftovers, I just want to get rid of it. And this fabric, I'm just going to tell you, I've had in my stash for probably 30 years. So it's time to use it up. Let's see. What other questions do I have? Hi, Priscilla. It's good to see you. Or, you know, your name at least. I'm looking forward to the next time I'll be in Lindsay for another show. I hear shows are going to start soon, May-ish. Okay, let's see. Oh, Eldred said that she's only had one juror complain about the corners. Most art quilt jurors don't care, which I think is true. I think that the people that are juring the art quilts have a totally different mindset than traditional jurors, where traditional jurors are very much sticklers for technique and doing it the same way it's been done for 1,000 years and don't try to put your own spin on anything, where art quilters are pretty much game for anything. They just like the overall effect of the project. But I don't personally enter anything into competition anymore because I just don't have a strong enough constitution for them to tell me that my binding's not right or this is wrong or whatnot. Because I did enter into a quilt show and I sewed the binding onto my quilts and my girlfriend's quilts, and they didn't say one word about her binding, but they knocked mine down for my binding. So it's just kind of who you are and who you've pissed off and who you know, who likes who. It, like anything when you're being juried, if it's a small venue, then they probably know who you are and decide whether you're going to win or not. Oh, Peggy, I do think so. I think that we could use the what was the glue called? The stitch glue? Oh, we have it. Okay, follow me. I'll tell you the name.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't know where she went, ladies.
Oh, Lynn, don't miss us. Look at, I actually taught you something today. Okay, so you could totally use the unique stitch instead of the Steam-A-Seam. And then that would be super quick and easy. So the unique stitch is just sewing with a tube, fast drying adhesive. And then I do believe this you can wash according to Penny, but I've never tried it. Look, all you girls are my people. Look at you. All of your searchers are still in the box. I love it. Well, not really. I wish we knew how to use it, but they do seem overwhelming. Yes, the stitched edge is going to take a ton of thread. So if you do like a satin stitch around the quilt, it's a fun and different way to do it, but it will use up a ton of thread. So maybe get like a 12 weight, because then it's a thicker thread, so it will cover more space faster. Okay, show the sleeve again. Oh, Mary, bummer. No, you did not send me an email, but I'll give you a pass because I know you're on drugs. But you're not supposed to post that over the internet. You know, once you post it, Mary, once it's out there forever. I'm always telling the kids, be careful what you put out there because it never goes away. Okay, here is, oops. I know you girls really are my people. We can't handle the criticism. No, I think we sew and we quilt and we create because we have that need to be creative, but it has to be fun or we're going to go pick up toll painting or I don't know, we're going to go play cards or we're just going to go to the bar and drink. So we do definitely have to stick into our comfort zone. And so for me, I create because I enjoy it. And it's like Eleanor Peace Bailey said, it's better to do art poorly than not do art at all. So that's kind of been my philosophy for life is that I would rather just create. And as long as I enjoy it, that's all that matters. Okay, here's the sleeve. So, and you could honestly stitch this sleeve, even if you're doing a regular binding like this, you still are going to want a sleeve if it's going to be hung. Otherwise, if you're lazy like me and you don't do the sleeve, you're just going to be pushing tacks into your walls all the time. But so I cut my sleeve at 10 inches and then I just rolled the hem here on the side and stitched it down. I don't know if you can see the stitching. Just a quick little stitch. I didn't measure or anything. I just eyeballed, ironed it, stitched it down, and then ironed it in half. So this will go onto the quilt. So when I put it to the top of the quilt, the pretty side's going to be here on the pretty side of my quilt, on the top finished side of my quilt. It's going to be like this. Then I'm going to have the sides here. And then when I stitch all the way around, it will flip back like this. And it will iron to here, to the back side. And then you'll have the little opening right here to put your pole into. Okay, let's see. Mary Beatty, I only have a good attitude for you. You're the only one that I cut some slack to. Okay, girls, do you have any other questions about any other types of binding? Did Mary Beatty, did you see my links? Did Roger show it to you? Okay, here. Look at, I'm not finished and I'm sure I'll move stuff around, but I've got a good start to my applique here. There's such a lag. I don't know what you guys are seeing right now. Okay, Mary Beatty, I sent you the link for tonight's class. But if you want to come in one day and work on your links, just let me know. You did have your choice of the background fabrics, but since you weren't here, I had to get started. Hey, Rondi, it's good to see you. And Karen, we missed you yesterday at our Sunday stitch along. But I'm sure you girls were probably having a good time doing something fun. Thank you, Judith. Hi, Diane. Oh, what do you mean you've been painting a bath? What kind of bath? Been painting a bath? Like a bathtub? Well, post a picture. We want to see. All right, girls, do you have any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to get back. I've got a quilt that I'm in the middle of long arming. And look at Janet's over here trying to get all of your packages ready to ship. Look at that. Look at somebody, Connie Wiggins. Look at, can anybody tell which box is Connie's? It might be the one that's overflowing. Although, I don't know, there's quite a few that are overflowing. Oh, you're painting your bathroom. That doesn't sound like so much fun. I thought you were like painting, toll painting or something, a bathtub, like a vintage bathtub would be fun. Something exciting, but a bathroom, I guess it could be exciting. You'll have to post pictures when you're done. All right, girls, we will see you on Wednesday. Remember, Wednesday we are going to be live at noon, and then we're also going to be live for Wild Wednesdays at 2. And we've got 4 fun vendors that will be doing demos and lots of prizes and fun stuff. So mark your calendars right now for Wednesday at noon and at 2. All right, have a good day. Do something creative. Have fun. Bye.